Ladies and gentlemen, in this second speech on Yasser Arafat, I would like to tell you more about this man's life. I'd like to tell you a few episodes which may interest you, a few events of Yasser Arafat's life, seeing as I've already told you about his youth and about how he started his political career. So in 1967, where we left off in the previous speech, the Six-Day War occurred. In this war, Israel fought against many of its neighboring countries, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Thanks to surprise air attacks, Israel managed to secure a very swift and decisive victory in a very short period of time. Israel took control of the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Sinai Peninsula, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. At this time, the only credible opposition to Israel was Fatah, and of course, the leader of this organization was Yasser Arafat. As Yasser Arafat was such an important figure in Palestinian liberation, he was appointed as the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO. This organization worked for Palestinian independence. However, it had great difficulties in finding a permanent headquarters for itself. This is because wherever it went across the Middle East, it would tend to be a source of tension. Therefore, the PLO and Arafat's fighters moved from Jordan at first to Lebanon and then to Tunisia, and continued to move around the Middle East. Arafat was in exile from Palestine for 27 years. This meant that he was unable to set foot in his own land, his homeland, whilst fighting for it for so many years. In 1987, Yasser Arafat launched the first Intifada. Intifada means uprising, and this was a fight against the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories. In 1990, Yasser Arafat made one of his worst diplomatic blunders. He made the mistake of supporting Sadam Hussein during the Kuwait Crisis. This meant that many countries withdrew their financial support for Palestine. This is simply because they didn't agree with Yasser Arafat's stance regarding Sadam Hussein. As a result of this weak diplomatic position, Yasser Arafat was forced to make peace with Israel. This was concluded in the White House in Washington in 1993. There is famous footage of the handshake between Yasser Arafat and the Israeli leader Yitzhak Rabin. These two figures were later awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts. However, this happy scene at the White House was eventually destroyed as a result of the fact that Rabin was assassinated in 1995. Believe it or not, Yasser Arafat was very saddened by his death, and he paid condolences to Yitzhak Rabin in secret with his wife. He spoke of the great agreement that he has reached with his partner, and it was very symbolic, the fact that he used the word partner, speaking about an Israeli leader. Later on, Yasser Arafat spoke about peace, and he spoke about the need for peace. But in 2000, the new Intifada was launched. This was the second Intifada. It was estimated that during this time of conflict, 5,500 Palestinians were killed. 1,100 Israelis met their end, and 64 foreigners were killed. Yasser Arafat himself died later on in 2004 at the age of 75. The exact cause of his death is unknown, but doctors speak about a number of different illnesses that he was suffering from. A few other key moments in Yasser Arafat's life include his visit to the United Nations headquarters in New York in 1974. At this time, he gave a speech in front of the General Assembly. He spoke about peace, but he spoke about the need for peace, for everyone to work together for peace. He expressed this in very poignant terms with the following words. He said, "I come here bearing an olive branch in one hand and a freedom fighter's gun in the other. Do not let the olive branch fall from my hand." By this, of course, Yasser Arafat was calling for unity in the fight for peace. This speech led to a surge in sympathy around the world for the Palestinian cause, and it was the only time in the history of the United Nations that somebody has given a speech in front of the General Assembly with a holster around their waist. However, the holster did not, of course, have a pistol in it. Other interesting points in Arafat's life were in 1990 when he married Suha Tawil. This marriage was to a lady who was a Palestinian Christian. This meant that she was disliked by many Palestinians, and she was also considered too much of a Westerner. In 1992, Yasser Arafat managed to escape death in a crash landing in a Libyan desert. This Yasser Arafat seems to have had many other lucky episodes, lucky escapes in his life of this type. Ladies and gentlemen, Yasser Arafat is a very controversial figure. Some see him as a hero, others see him as a villain. Some see him as a peace lover, others see him as a terrorist. But one thing is clear: Yasser Arafat is one of the most important figures in the history of the 20th century. Thank you.